versus Ventura. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Timothy Brazos says Jimmy Ventura seriously injured him when he hit him with a skateboard during an all-out fight at a party.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 238 on the calendar in the matter of Brazos versus Ventura. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Brazos, according to these papers, you claim that the defendant assaulted you by hitting you with a skateboard. You were severely injured. You want him to pay for your medical and dental bills, as well as pain and suffering.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Tell me when this happened.
Friday the 13th, 1996.
Okay. Tell me what happened.
Okay. First, we were having a party at my house, and he was there.
Who's he?
Jimmy's brother, I believe. That's his brother.
This young man here.
Yes.
Okay.
He was there, and he came and peed on our lawn. Some of the party goers at the party didn't like it, so they confronted him and said, "Why'd you do that?" And I guess there's some push came to shove, and they started fighting, and they chased him off the lawn. And
The
then,
brother.
Yeah. And then he came back shortly later, about 10 minutes later, with Jimmy and about 20 people, and they're all wearing white tank tops and had tattoos and shaved heads. Some were holding pipes and bats. And there was about 10 people left at the house having a party with me. And then all of a sudden, him and his brother rushed the house. Jimmy was one of them. Jimmy grabbed a skateboard, hit me in the head, and I fell to the ground. And he walked away, and I walked to the next house and went and got treatment for my mouth.
Was he arrested?
No, he wasn't.
Well, he was at one point arrested because there's a criminal trial going on.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Later on, I think about 4 or 5 days later, he was arrested.
Did he come to be arrested? Did you identify him?
Yes. I went down to the police station and picked his picture out and a list of people.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. One night, on Friday the 13th, okay, he had a party. He had 2 kegs and 4 bands. My brother was supposed to go out to the party because he was invited by my uncle. And they jumped my brother. A bunch of people jumped him. I wasn't there.
Step up here. You're a gunner?
Yes, sir.
Did you use his lawn as a bathroom? Come on, let's go.
All right, well, I was invited to his birthday party by my uncle. I went out there, my friend took a pee on his lawn, and then they got around him, huddled around him. I went over there to try to settle it. A guy got in my face, and I was about this close to my face. I pushed him, and then I was struck with a bat in the head and the side. And then I was basically gang rushed down the street, and that's where I went and caught my breath.
You caught your breath. And when did you call your brother?
I didn't call him.
I never seen him at all that night. He left. Supposedly he got jumped. I was walking through the apartments, and this is how I found about it. My uncle told me that Gunner might have gotten jumped. So I saw Tim, I guess, whatever his name is, with a group of people, like about 40 guys, sit in front of his house laughing on how they beat some guy up. I took off. I was with 2 girls that I was with all night, and I went to their house. And I sat there, and I saw my mom, Elaine. She drove by she was going down the street, and I saw, I'm like, what is she doing out here, 3 o'clock in the morning? But anyways, I came up to the scene, and I saw my mom trying to break up a fight, and some guy cold clocked my mom, like, leveled her out. She got a broken nose. She got, fat lip, and I ran in there, and I socked the guy that hit my mom.
It wasn't this young man.
No, it wasn't even him.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing that I came into this fight. I hit the guy that hit my mom.
I'm looking at this. You say in your answer, sir, that there was another fight 4 days later.
Yeah, there was.
When he got beat up, and he wants me to pay because the apartments belong to my grandmother and Tim smells money. So according to you, the injuries that he sustained happened 4 days later. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Can I see your medical reports, please?
Sure.
The statement that you make here is that he got beat up 4 days later.
Yeah, he got beat up 4 days later.
He got beat up 4 days later, and he wants you to pay for it. is not true because the first medical report of injury was the morning of this incident. This incident happened late at night on the 13th.
Yes.
And his first report of injuries was on the 14th, which means that this stuff that you suggest about his being beaten up 4 days later and he just wants you to pay for it because he feels as if your family has money, I want you to put that out of your mind. His injuries were sustained on the 13th. Now, you are Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Step up, please. You're their mother?
Yes, I am.
What do you know about this evening?
This boy has falsely identified because this boy wasn't there but 5 minutes. I don't doubt that Tim didn't get hit by somebody, but it wasn't by this young man right
You
here.
don't know that.
I was there the whole time, Your Honor.
No, you weren't.
He was
Yes,
hit?
I was, Your Honor. I was there
Mrs.
the whole
Schwartz,
time.
you weren't there the whole time.
Yes, I was there the entire time.
Tim said he got
All
hit.
the way until when the officers told us to go home.
I thought you got hit.
I did
She
get
did.
hit.
We sat
And when
and
you
talked
just
to
a
cops
second,
for 4
when you got
hours.
hit, where were you?
I was
on the
right
ground?
in front of their apartment, right where he says he claims he got
Were
hit.
you on the ground?
Pardon?
Were you on the ground? Pardon. But
Yeah, not the entire night.
I didn't
was
say
hit.
on
I was
the entire
knocked
night.
out.
I said down. Were you knocked down?
Yes, I was.
So when you were knocked down, you were on the ground. You didn't see what was going on all around you.
No, but I wasn't down for that long of a
Mr.
time.
Schwartz.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
For one, I didn't hit him, but anyways, if you think about it, can you run 20 feet with a skateboard and have a skateboard truck and only chip 1 tube? Can you do that? It's quietly impossible.
Would you believe this? You missed the point, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Brazos claims Jimmy Ventura injured him when a party erupted into a neighborhood brawl.
Mr. Schwartz, what I'm telling you is you did not see what was going on around you all the time. That doesn't mean that I am yet convinced that this was the person who hit you, sir. And I don't doubt the fact that you got hit. Because in your complaint, you say, because I read it very carefully, my back was turned to him when I got hit.
Well, I meant my side. You know, I was like,
What
I
you
was like
meant,
this.
sir, in your sworn complaint and what you wrote, then are two different things because you swore to this. You want to see it?
No, I know what I wrote.
You said, the reason I should win is I did not hit him at all. My back was turned to him when I got hit.
Well, yeah. I mean, my side was turned to him. I'm more like my back. As I got hit, I could see who hit me.
You mean, sir, listen to me. And I'm not saying that it definitely was not this young man. You have just told me that you never saw him before. That night was the first night you saw him. That there was a lot of confusion going on because there are lots of people out there, 40 people from your side, from the other group's side, so there are a lot of people, a lot of commotion. According to your own statement, you had a couple of beers that night. You didn't want to get blotto drunk, but you had a couple of beers that night. So you had something to drink. It was late at night because the party was in the process of winding down. And your back was turned towards the person who hit you. So what you're telling me is in the split second that you turned around, you saw this young man, and you are able to 100% say to me today, you are absolutely positive that this was the person who assaulted you with the skateboard.
Yes, because after he hit me, I saw who it was. He walked away, and I saw him.
He walked away. You fell to the ground when you were hit?
I fell to my knee and my arm.
You fell to the knees in your arm, and the person who hit you...
He was standing right there waiting for me to get up. I didn't get up for about 3 or 4 seconds.
Oh, you didn't tell me that before. You said they were walking away. Why would they be standing right over you?
To see if I'd get up and probably attack him back, because he'd probably want to be ready if I would do something like that. But that's not what happened. He was right there after he hit me. He hit me. I got up. As I was getting up, I'm looking at him the whole time. He's standing there, you know, kind of backing away. And then he just goes off in his way, and I run upstairs in the house. My brother saw that happen.
Did you have skateboards in your house?
Yeah, they were on the lawn. It'd be very easy for him to grab one and hit me. I know for a fact it was him.
I'm not sure.
I'm positive. I'm 100% positive.
Okay,
Well-
he says that I hit him and I took off. Well, if he would have known and he knew what I was wearing, which he doesn't because he said I was wearing a white striped shirt, I was sitting in front of those stairs for 4 hours talking to cops.
And that's not what he was wearing. And if he's
And
so
that's not what I was
positive,
wearing. When he
Your
said
Honor,
in court, he's all, I saw him, he's wearing a white shirt. I was not wearing a white
I
shirt.
never said he was
that
wearing a
night.
white shirt. I said he was wearing a striped
It's in your
shirt.
testimony.
You said it's in your
That's
testimony in the
testimony that
criminal
he's wearing a
case.
striped shirt.
Listen to me.
It says a white
After
striped
this
shirt,
happened,
t-shirt.
Wrong.
after this happened,
we've
Well,
got
that's
the
what he said.
transcript.
after this whole
Should've brought it.
altercation, were you sitting, you say you were sitting and talking to the police?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sat
Hey,
there
Mr.
for 4
Schwartz,
hours.
stop it. I'm talking to him. You say you were sitting and talking to the police where?
Right on the stairs. We sat down right when my mom got hit. I showed up right when she got hit. I wasn't even there before when the fight started. I came up when the fight was already going on. I came up and I saw my mom get hit, and I hit the guy that hit her. I got maced. We both sat down on the stairs, supposedly where he says he ran up the stairs, whatever. I sat there. We were sitting there, and the fight was still increasing. I was still sitting there. The cops come up. My mom had she had like blood coming from her nose, and she had a fat lip, and so we were sitting there, and she was getting taken care of. That the ambulance came up, and we were talking to him, and we sat there for 4 hours.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It doesn't make sense to me that her own son struck her, sir. Common sense would dictate to me that that did not happen.
In the case involving Mrs. Schwartz and her sons, there was no common sense involved.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Brazos is suing Jimmy Ventura for injuries suffered during a neighborhood brawl. Jimmy is countersuing for pain and suffering, loss of education, and financial hardship.
Did they ever apprehend the person who hit you?
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
do you mean?
we tried to tell my
We
mom,
tried to tell him who hit me.
and they would not
they
listen to
wouldn't
us
listen.
at all.
That sounds very peculiar to me.
This whole thing is peculiar.
No, just a second. That sounds very peculiar to me. I mean, here you have a woman who's in charge of a building complex, who apparently is injured when the police arrive, and the police will not take your complaint about the person who hit you?
No, all they kept saying is their side, Tim and his roommates kept saying that Jimmy was the one that hit me. And I was trying to convince...
Jimmy was the one that hit you?
Yes.
You mean your son was
Yes.
the one who hit you?
That's what they were, that's
what
what they
were
were
trying to say.
saying.
They try to say,
That's what they were saying the whole night, that Jimmy's the one who hit me, not Tim. He hit me. And the fella that hit me, if he's so sure it was Jimmy,
Just a minute.
then who I'm sure
Did
hit
anybody
me is him.
suggest to the police
Because the boy that hit me was that boy's size right there.
No, Mrs. Schwartz, this boy didn't. He didn't hit you. Come on,
The
get
boy
it together.
that hit me was as tall as him.
Good.
But I won't 100% identify him because I didn't see him. It happened too quick. But it
That's
was
right.
he was a tall, big boy.
Okay. Did anybody suggest that this woman was assaulted by her own son?
No,
Huh?
no.
It's in the police
Did
report.
you? Let me see
I
the
didn't
police
suggest
report.
it.
I didn't bring it.
it should have been
Well,
all of them.
because...
You're the father.
Yes.
You know anything about this?
Yes.
I'm going to hear you.
I just recently retired from the Los Angeles Police Department, and I had contact that night with my son, and then I contacted Lewis Martin, who's the detective handling the case in Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. And as she stated, there were independent wits from the commotion that was going on outside that did, in fact, is in the police report that she was struck by her own son during the melee.
Oh, just a second.
Just to let you know that part.
No, you can't let me know that. I don't know that. I don't know unless I hear a witness who saw it.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes. I
Because you understand that.
Yes.
And it doesn't make sense to me that her own son struck her, sir. Common sense would dictate to me that that did not happen.
In the case involving Mrs. Schwartz and her sons, there was no common sense involved.
Oh, I believe that there's common sense and logic involved in this whole thing. I believe that there was a party.
Yes.
I believe that this young man came uninvited. I believe that he brought somebody else with him that was also uninvited to the party. I believe that the other person he invited to the party went outside, either with him or without his assistance, and urinated on the lawn right in front of the house. I believe that there was some altercation
Yes.
because there were some guests at the party that were irate at what they saw because here were uninvited guests using the front lawn of your home as a toilet. Clearly inappropriate.
Yes.
I even believe he probably got roughed up a little bit and went home and got a whole group of people. Probably included in that group was his brother, who came back to the house looking for nothing but trouble. So far, it's as clear as a bell to me. The only thing that's not 100% clear to me, sir, is whether your son could make an appropriate identification.
I can clear that up. I can clear that up.
Go ahead.
Okay, before this night, I've never seen him before. I would have no reason to pick his face out of a 6-person lineup. I'd never seen him before that night. How would I go into the sheriff's station and pick his face out of a lineup, even if I've never seen him before? And if he's not the one, you know, if he's the one who hit me, I'd pick him out for sure. You know,
Well, how long have you been living in that complex?
at the time, about a month. He never came by before,
Had
ever.
you seen him before?
Never.
That's not true.
The other brother?
He
I
saw
saw- I
both
saw
of my
him.
sons when he was at my
No.
house signing
We
contracts.
used to do maintenance work
I saw
on
him.
apartments.
One day when we came there with one of my roommate's parents, I saw a gunner walk to his room. That's the only person I ever saw.
Didn't
I
see
never
the
saw
other
Jimmy.
brother?
Never.
You have a photograph of the lineup?
No. But the police made me pick it, and they brought it to a civil,
Pick it.
criminal trial.
Made him pick it.
Explain to me, sir, exactly what was shown to you when you came into the police
Okay,
station.
I went to the police
Just
station.
4 days later, you went into the police station. Mm-hmm.
And he showed me a
Who's he?
The police officer,
Martin.
Yes.
Detective Martin, showed
Yes.
me a list. There were 6 people on this paper, on this photo thing, and he was one of them. And I picked out the guy that I saw hit me, just like that. I don't know who the other 5 people were.
And you had never seen him before?
Never.
For one, I didn't hit him, but anyways, if you think about it, can you run 20 feet with a skateboard and have a skateboard truck and only chip 1 tooth? Can you do that? It's quietly impossible.
Could you believe this?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You missed the point, sir.
No, that's what
Either they have convinced me by a preponderance of the evidence that you were the one who hit him, or they haven't. And whether his head got cracked open, or whether he chipped 1 tooth, or whether he doesn't have one of his own teeth in his mouth as a result of that is really not the issue. The issue is, did you hit him?
No, I didn't hit
And
him.
quite
It's a lie.
frankly, he has convinced me that you did. All right, what were your unreimbursed medical expenses, sir?
Okay, and that's where my dad was here to, he knows
Okay.
exactly how that went.
Yes,
Out
sir.
of pocket, I lost about $1,600 approximately, and we have an $800 root canal due on the same tooth because it died.
Well, the only question is, what are the damages for pain and suffering? Because your unreimbursed bills, you certainly are entitled to. Because I find that there is sufficient evidence by a preponderance of the evidence so that I am satisfied that based on the fact that you picked him out of a lineup, and the lineup was a 6-person photographic lineup, and I am satisfied that you had not seen him before. I believe you that you had not seen him before. So there would have been no reason for you to pick out this person who just happens to be the brother of the person who had an argument with your partygoers a few hours before. There would have been no reason for you to pick him out. That coupled with the fact that usually when someone is injured, they want the right person arrested. They want the person who caused them pain to suffer, right?
Right.
So you would not like to identify the wrong person. It would have been just as easy for you to identify this person because he had been there. Did not. You identified somebody who you had never seen before, him. So I'm satisfied that by a preponderance of the evidence, you have established that he caused you injury. And I'm giving you what you're suing for, which is $5,000.
Thank you.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, how come I was...
Out the back door to your right. Excuse me, step out. this
Judge
way.
Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Garrett is suing her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and Misty's boyfriend, Tom Bradford, claiming they used her, destroyed her property, and stole precious mementos.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Ma'am. Judge, number 230 on the calendar in the matter of Garrett versus Bradford Oman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Miss Garrett, this is your granddaughter.
That's correct.
Your name is Bradford,
Yes, ma'am.
and you're her boyfriend.
Yes.
You live together.
Yes.
And you have 2 children?
3.
3 children, but they're not your children.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Garrett, you're suing your granddaughter and her boyfriend
Yes, Your Honor.
because you rented them a house.
Yes, I did.
And you say that A, they did not pay rent,
That's correct.
B, they vandalized your house,
Yes,
and they took property that was yours from the house.
absolutely.
When did you and why did you rent this house to them?
Well, Misty lived there prior for a year, approximately, prior to a year of her mom moving out.
So originally her mother lived there, and she lived with her mother and her 3 children.
Exactly. And then the mother moved out, and Misty...
That's your daughter?
My daughter. Misty didn't have any place to go, nor the money to go anyplace else. So I told her I would rent her my house, and I did.
What was the monthly rental?
$466. That covers my mortgage payment.
Now, you admit, Miss Ullman, that you did not make one rental payment.
Yes.
And that's after you say you were served with an eviction notice from your grandmother.
Yes.
So you admit that you owe her that money.
Yes, I do.
There came a time when you decided to evict her.
Yes.
Can you tell me why?
Well, for one thing, they were not paying the rent, which I needed. I'm on a fixed income. I needed the rent money to cover my own expenses. I have enough to take care of my own personal needs, but not that of Misty, her boyfriends, or her children. So I needed the money for that. And the eviction started over the payment. There was also other problems involved during the eviction.
Like what?
Over the children.
What?
I heard verbal abuse from Mr. Bradford with the 3 children. I was very much concerned about that. They were going to ship the young boy off to Alaska to a father that he hardly knew, to people that did not know him. And I was very upset.
Her oldest child they were going to send to the father's house.
In Alaska, because he was causing problems. He does have a behavior problem. But to me, you don't have throwaway children.
How close do you live to them?
I lived about 60 feet in a studio apartment that's on the same property as my big house.
Before you served them with an eviction notice, did you tell them that you wanted them to move out?
Yes, I did.
Are you sure?
I sent them a letter asking them to come to me to work out a payment plan for the rents owed.
How many months' rent did they owe you by the time they left?
She stayed there. They stayed there. May I have a drink of water?
Please.
They stayed there for 3 months. They paid me a total of $580.
Do you have proof of payment of more than $580?
No, I do not. I used money orders, and I gave the money orders to my grandma, and then she went to the bank and made the payment.
She says that you gave her a total of $580 during the 3 months that you were living there.
We were there for 3 months, and I did pay the first 2 months. The 3rd month I did not pay.
She says that one of the reasons she started eviction proceedings is because you weren't paying her.
No, that is not true. And
well, then do you have the
claiming...
receipts to show me 2 payments of $466
No,
each?
Your Honor, I do not.
And are you saying that the total they paid you was $580?
That's correct.
And she's also claiming that we owe, or that the rent was $466, which the mortgage payment and the insurance together is, but I was only responsible for $290 of it.
Why?
I didn't pay the insurance. That was not our agreement.
Just a second. Maybe when your mother was living there, it was split differently. But what was your mortgage payment?
$466.02, in fact.
Do you have proof of that?
Yes,
Cheryl?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, actually, the payments were $290 as they were when the mother lived there.
No. No. Who said so?
That's exactly how much they were.
She says that you had an understanding that you were going to pay whatever amount it was to cover her mortgage payment.
She's claiming $466, I believe, but that's not true, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see whether it's $466. She's going to show me.
The mortgage may, with the insurance may indeed be that, but that doesn't mean that was the agreement to pay that.
Well, why should why should she subsidize you? Where can you find a house for $466?
Well, I don't think that's the issue.
No, just a second. Where can you find a house for $466?
You can find them in Fresno. They're available. The people can scoff if they want that you're in Los Angeles. In Fresno, it's not uncommon to find a house for $450. It may not be palatial, but it'll be something that you can live in. And
Well, was this a nice house?
Yeah, it is a nice house. It's an older house, 70 or 80 years old, and it's very large.
Good. Well, $466 doesn't seem to me outrageous. So do you work?
Ma'am.
Do you work?
Do I work?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Well, I just got a job as a production supervisor with a poultry company.
What were you doing during the time that you were living with Miss Oman in her grandmother's house?
Well, you mean, was I seeking employment or was I working?
No, were you working?
No, at that time I wasn't working. I was seeking employment.
Well, who was supporting you?
I received unemployment.
How much?
$400 a month.
And were you working?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have a few things that I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic, and during that time I've been seeking therapy and help for myself and for my kids, and that...
Well, you certainly weren't living on $400 a month that he was getting from unemployment insurance, so you must have been subsidized by the state in some way. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were receiving welfare?
Yes.
How much?
A total of $620 a month.
So you were receiving $620 and he was getting $400. That's $1,000 some odd dollars a month, more than enough to pay Grandma's mortgage.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother was slightly frustrated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lavelle Garrett claims her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and Misty's boyfriend, Tom Bradford, did not pay rent, stole, and damaged her property. Misty says her grandmother is trying to control her.
Now, let's get beyond the mortgage. Let's get to this vandalism. You have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. It's under the green tag there that you have. I also have the color ones for you if you would like. Those are copies.
I'd like to see the originals, please. One of the things, Miss Garrett, that I'm sort of surprised at, well, I'm not faulting you because, you know, you came prepared for this lawsuit, but that you took such care to prepare this lawsuit when your granddaughter was involved. So my sense is that there's something more to this than just this property damage. Did you have a fight with her about sending this young boy to Alaska?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that fight with her?
It was after the eviction.
No, Your Honor, that's not true. It was prior to the eviction.
Okay, I couldn't be mistaken about that, Your Honor. I'm not sure. I mean, there's been an ongoing argument about this child for a long time because of my concern for his welfare.
Did you ever ask your granddaughter if your grandson could come and live with you?
He did live with me for 1 year. He was in my custody for 1 year. At this time, as we speak, he is living with my daughter.
With his maternal grandmother?
Right.
Is that through the state?
No.
By agreement?
By agreement between Mr. Bradford and Miss Oman.
Well, what does he have to do with it?
You tell me.
Nothing is the answer. I'd like you to look at some of these photographs and tell me whether any of this looks familiar to you.
I'd also like to add, Your Honor, this is a very sad day for me to have my granddaughter in court. I have loved this young lady for 24 years. And this is very, very sad for me to have her in court. But I've had it. I'm up to here with her, the men she's been dragging in and out of her children's life.
Your Honor, I'm trying to be polite and be reserved and be respectful of the court. And, you know, I'm just going to take a chance here and speak out. You know, I'm a good human being. I'm not going to be ashamed of the fact that I'm in between jobs. Many people in America are in between jobs right now. And it's nothing to laugh at or to be ashamed of. And I met Misty some months ago, in March, in fact, and we developed a relationship. And we had a good relationship. In fact, her suitor, Bob Magretta, hired me to do a number of odd jobs for him while I was in between jobs. And in fact, after the eviction, offered me work and offered us a place to stay in one of his apartments that he rents. And we have a letter here stating that, saying you can come and live in one of my apartments and you can continue to have your job. We're not bad people. And I love her children and I love her. And we're planning to have a future together.
Mr. Bradford, let me stop you, sir. I don't doubt certain of the things that you said to me. You don't fall in love with children after 6 months. As
I didn't say I fell in love.
Just a
I loved
second.
her
You
and
said
I love the children.
You say you love her and you love her children. You don't
Yes, I
love
do.
her children. You don't love her children. You may tolerate 2 of them, certainly. You didn't love the third one. The third one was being sent away thousands of miles away from his siblings because clearly he was not thriving in your home, and he was probably, in all probability, you don't send the child away unless they are particularly troublesome.
He was going for a 4-week vacation, Your Honor, to see the father who she summons down to help with the child within the last few years. If you ask her, she'll tell you.
Just a second. That's not what it says in the answer.
When the psychiatric, when the doctors at the psychiatric facility recommended that we allow him to try to work out some of the unresolved issues by visiting with his dad.
What do you, Mr. Bradford, what do you think the unresolved issues are, sir?
Well, I'm not a professional in the psychiatric field, but
so you're not a professional, and you've been in this family for 6 months. You've been involved with these 3 children for 6 months. You have 3 children. Were you married once or more than once?
Once.
Once. And the father is, the person who lives in Alaska is the father of all 3 of your children?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. How many children is he the father of?
1.
1. And the other 2 children, do they have the same father?
No, Your Honor.
So I want you to listen to me very carefully, Mr. Bradford. What she said is she's had it up to here with the men that her granddaughter has brought into the lives of her grandchildren. And right now, very simple. I mean, just on its face, Misty acknowledges she had a substance abuse problem. Hopefully she's in recovery. But the bottom line is she has 3 children by 3 different men, only one of whom she was married to. She has a little boy who was clearly suffering as a result of A, his mother's addiction. She was, in all probability, neglectful of the children while she was involved with drugs. That's clear. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother, who has probably been around for all of these tragedies that have gone on for her grandchildren, is slightly frustrated.
Well,
so don't tell me, sir, that we're good people, and I love all these 3 children, because this lady has heard that before.
Well,
you have to understand the frustration.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing
not.
at that. And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Airline technician Lavelle Garrett says her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and her boyfriend, Tom Bradford, owe her for back rent and damaged property. Misty says it all started when she sent her son away.
Now, all I want you to do is look at those photographs and you tell me whether any of that damage to her property looks familiar. Just look at it.
There are some things that I am responsible for, but
like
some
what?
of this, for example, the broken portable closet, no. This screen.
What are you responsible for?
This screen right here, the cat potty.
The what?
the feces, the cat feces that they left in my bathroom floor, plus cat litter in my kitchen with cigarette butts and cat feces in it. The pictures are all here.
You're not suing for that much money. Right now, you're almost to the amount of money from back rent.
This coffee cup right here that's broken on the porch, somebody threw that at the window. And I asked...
Keep going.
Your Honor?
What?
The doorbell was removed because he took it down. It didn't work. He took it down. He was going to repair it. Grandma said that she didn't have the money to repair it, so we just left it on top of the refrigerator. This stuff is all just a mess from moving.
Just a minute. What do you mean it's a mess from moving? Why did you leave a mess when you moved?
We were moving, so we had stuff
Who was supposed to clean it up?
No,
Missy, who was supposed to clean it up? Did you come back and clean up your mess after you moved?
Yes, this stuff we took with us.
I'm talking about the mess after you left. Cat litter, cigarette butts in the cat litter, dirt all over the place. Did you come back and clean that up?
No, my grandmother did not want me to come back to clean it up.
Did you? You mean you called your grandmother and said, I left the house a mess, I want to come back just for a day just to clean up the mess?
No, my grandmother made it very clear, do not come back.
The sheriffs escorted her out, and when she forgot one or two items inside the place in her, hasty exodus from the residence, they wouldn't even let her back in to get those items, okay? And so, when a sheriff's there and the kids are all on the porch crying, and she's trying to get her stuff and get out. I'm not making her out to be an angel, but she's a good person, Your Honor, and I love her. And you see her sister over there crying, and I'll tell you why she's crying. Because you're making her out to, you're guessing, and I respect your position.
I'm not guessing, Mr.
That's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly
I'm not
what you're
guessing,
doing.
sir. Am I guessing at the fact that Miss Oman has 3 children? Am I guessing?
That part you're not.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing
not.
at that. I'm not guessing at the fact that she was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I'm not guessing at that.
No, ma'am, you're not.
I'm not guessing at the fact that you've been involved in this family for less than a year. I'm not guessing at that.
No, you're not.
And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Well,
you don't know
sure I
that.
do.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Garrett, listen to me. Don't rent them an apartment anymore. I don't know if he's going to be long-term or short-term, whether he's going to be as long-term as the other 3 guys that were in your granddaughter's life. I haven't a clue. You've sued for very little money, slightly over $1,100. They owe you at least $800 in rent. That's your lawsuit. $1,184 is what your lawsuit was for. There is, based upon what I've seen, the mess alone in that apartment, as far as I'm concerned, takes at least $300 to clean up that kind of disaster. So, you tell me that this was a painful thing for you to do.
Yes, it is.
I not only think it's painful, I'm not so sure that I would have done it. I would have just said, from now on, I'm not going to bail my granddaughter out, and I would have eaten the $1,100. You chose not to do that, and I can't fault you for not saying, I'm going to chalk it up and write, from now on, they're on their own. It's sad that you brought her to court. She owes you the money. She owes you the money for rent, and she owes you the money for cleaning up the mess that she and her boyfriend left in your house. Judgment is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,100. That's it, Miss Garrett. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And
Forward, please.
35-year-old Major Castleberry is suing 39-year-old apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 361 on the calendar in the matter of Castleberry versus Thomas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen.
I'll wait for you, sir. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You are the apartment manager
Yes, ma'am.
in a complex where the plaintiff lives, correct?
No, he doesn't live there.
He doesn't. Did he live there?
No,
He was just visiting there.
he was just visiting.
And you were there visiting a couple that you say you take care of.
Yes,
occasionally.
ma'am.
And you claim he assaulted you.
That's correct.
You want to tell me how that came about?
Yes, ma'am. From point A to point Z, I was actually I was visiting Mr. Bob Miller here, and actually I went to the store for him, And I came back. While at the store, I met a young lady, asked me to give her a ride, you know, up the way towards where we live, where actually Bob lived. And
Where do you live?
I live in Emeryville. I used to live next door to Bob Miller for 11 and a half years before I moved.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And as me and this, the young lady I gave a ride, you know, up to where Bob lived, we were sitting out in front of the apartment complex, and we're just sitting there talking. And you know, I acknowledged Zach was on the first level there, and Zach says, I spoke to him. How you doing, Zach? We never had a problem prior to this.
So you knew him from before?
Yes, ma'am. I've known him since I've lived there. I used to be the manager of the building adjacent to his. And so Zach came to the vehicle and says, "Hey, man, you know, what are you guys doing sitting in front of the apartment complex? Don't you know, people get shot for sitting in front of, you know, the apartment complex." So Zach proceeded up the stairs, and I thought about what he said, and I told the young lady, I said, "Hey, well, let's go up, you know, to Bob's apartment, right?"
To Bob's apartment?
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Bob Miller. And so we goes into the apartment and sitting down talking, conversating, and 45 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. And so I go and answer the door and ask, "Who is it?" He says, "Zach." So I open the door to see, you know, "Yeah, Zach, what is it?" And then he, you know, proceeded to push the door in, you know, forcefully push it. I said, "Man, you can't do this, man. You know, that's not right. You know you're out of line." And he, you know, pushed me into the partition there, and he grabbed a plant, and he tried to hit me over the head with the plant, but the vase that the plant was in fell, you know, hit the ground, so therefore he was left holding dirt in his hand. And also, you know, he struck me upside the head, and I received damages from that.
What kind of damages?
I have like a scar tissue under my temple area here.
Did you go to the doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a doctor's
Yes, ma'am, I
bill,
have.
report?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So, what happened?
Okay, on July the 2nd, I normally make my rounds of my building, you know, making sure the building is safe, making sure that nobody is hanging out in front of the building. Then I observed Major Castleberry sitting inside this car. I don't know, he was smoking something, you know, and
What do you mean he was smoking something?
he was smoking something that I assume it was, you know, like crack, because, you know, he's a, you know, abuser. And and also, when they got out the car, the young lady got out and came to my building, and before she walked up the stairs, she had used the restroom right in front of my stairs.
You mean she just
used the restroom in front of my stairs.
You mean she urinated in front of your stairs?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't use a restroom because it wasn't a restroom, it was the stairs.
Was the stairs, yes, ma'am. And
You saw this, sir?
Yes, ma'am. And this was around between 3:30 and 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning. Okay, and then when Major Castleberry proceeded up the stairs into the house, I didn't think nothing of it until he just opened up the door and just went in. And
So
then,
you were concerned that you didn't see him knock at the door or that you didn't see Bob let him in. He just opened the door and went in.
Right, he just, you know, because he just opens the door and just walks in. I knocks on the door, he cracks the door. Then I observe that when he cracks the door, my concern is with Bob.
So what did you see when he opened the door crack, you mean?
I seen this naked woman standing up, getting her clothes off the floor.
Was that the same woman?
The same woman that he was in a car with.
Who you saw using your staircase as a bathroom?
Right.
Okay.
And then as she was standing in the middle of the room floor naked, and then I said, "I want to talk to Bob." And then he go tell me that you're not going to talk to no one, and slam the door in my face. So I'm assuming that he just got upset because I disturbed whoever he about to do. When he slammed the door, I talked through the door. I said, "I want to talk to Bob to make sure Bob know that you're in the house. Because I don't know if he let the door open for you, or I don't know that you just walked in." Because Bob always had people coming inside his house, drinking with him, and always leaving out with money of his after he passed out of drinking. I said, okay, if you want to open the door, I'll just go call the police, and then so I can see, is Bob okay?
So, did you do that?
Yes. And then the two couples came out, him and his girlfriend, came out the house, and they start arguing about 4 a.m. in the morning to top of their lungs. Then I was trying to come to them. I said, look, y'all can't be yelling in my building at 4 a.m. in the morning.
And where was this taking place, this yelling and screaming?
Right outside, because they had stepped outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You take her up to the apartment with Bob passed out on the couch.
Well, Bob was actually asleep, you know.
He was in a deep sleep.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Major Castleberry is suing apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault. Zachary claims Mr. Castleberry was causing problems in his building and was attempting to detain him until the police arrived.
This is outside the apartment, so how did he get hit in the head?
Okay, then after I went to trying to calm them down, and then the door was already open, so I seen Bob laying down, face down on the couch. So I went to the apartment to see was he okay. Major Castleberry came in and started shoving me, well, tried to shove me out the door. You know, I said, Major, you know, get your hands off me. And then he kept on shoving me, kept on shoving me, kept on shoving me. And then I wouldn't budge. So I detained him against the wall and said, Major, be still until the police come. Then I heard footsteps coming up the stairs or down the stairs. So anyway, I heard footsteps. Then when I turned and looked to see who was that, when I turned back around, he had hit me in, somewhere in the cheek area, you know. He had struck me first in the cheek area. And then he struggled trying to get it loose, started trying to get it loose. Then as he kept on trying to get it loose, trying to hit me still, kept on trying to swing, that's when I countered and hit him to calm him down. Then after I hit him, then he come
Why
right...
did you pin him, sir? Mr. Thomas, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that you felt as if you were protecting the tenant or trying to make sure that the tenant was okay in your building.
Right.
What I don't understand is, sir, once you saw the tenant in your building, who you know, according to you, drinks, and you saw him, according to you, sort of passed out on the couch, right?
No, I didn't know he was passed out.
You saw him face down on the couch.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you saw. So you knew he was okay.
No.
Or as okay as he has been other times when you've seen him if you said, you know, he drinks, right?
Right.
So why did you try to detain this man?
Because he was swinging on me.
No, he wasn't swinging on you, sir, until you went into the apartment.
When I first came to the apartment, knocked on the door, like I said before, and then he refused to let me speak to my tenant.
He doesn't have to let you speak to your tenant, sir. You know that. I mean, I'm not faulting you. I think you were trying to do your job. I don't think there was anything malicious about your intent. I really don't. Except that because you had certain grounds to believe that the people who were going into that apartment were not wrapped too tight that evening. You know, you have a woman using a staircase as a bathroom.
That's a plain lie, Your Honor.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes, ma'am.
what were you doing out sitting in the car 3:30 in the morning with this lady that you picked up at the store?
Obviously, Your Honor.
No. Look in my eyes, Mr. Castleberry.
Definitely. No
Mr.
problem.
Castleberry,
Yes, ma'am.
you said you met this lady when
Yes,
you were
ma'am.
going out to the store.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were going to the store to get what?
Well, I was going to the
Here,
store.
look here.
Oh, fine. I was going to the store for Bob to get him a bottle of liquor, actually.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were going to the liquor store, and at the liquor store you met this lady who needed a ride
Correct.
to where she lived.
Basically, no, ma'am, she just actually wanted to ride up the street. She didn't ask me to take her home. She just asked me, you know, basically the conversation went like, you know, can I hang with you, right? I said, well...
At the liquor store where you went.
No, this
You went to the liquor store.
is not a liquor store. This is actually Walgreens, you know. And that's why I met the lady on the way out of the store. And she asked me...
So she asked you, the lady who you met coming out of Walgreens, said to you, "Can I hang with you?"
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Castleberry.
Yes, ma'am.
As much as I hate to admit it, sir, I wasn't born yesterday.
Okay, though. Well, that's the truth, Your Honor.
Now you, who I'm sure hadn't had anything to drink that night, is that right?
I had some beers or what have you, but yet and still I wasn't...
What's the what have you?
Some beers.
It's a what have you that I'm interested in.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I had beers.
Then you had some beers and you went to get some more liquor for both you and Mr. Bob over here, who was passed out on the sofa. And you meet the young lady outside of Walgreens who wants to hang with you. And you take her up to the apartment with Bob passed out on the couch. So far, am I getting this picture right?
Well, Bob was actually asleep, you know.
He was in a deep sleep. Is that right, Bob?
No, it isn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There was no reason for him to be alarmed by him seeing me go in there into Bob.
With the lady who had just urinated on the stairwell.
That's not true.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke. Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Major Castleberry is suing apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault. Zachary says Major may have been committing a crime and he wanted to hold him for the police.
This young lady, why did you bring her up to Bob's house?
Actually, it was actually, I don't know, no premeditated anything of that matter. It was no harm, no law broken. You know, I told her, yeah, sure, you can come on, and we just conversating, just talking. And also, Your Honor, it's people trying to make a mockery out of this situation. Yet and still, what happened to me basically shouldn't have happened at all. You know?
I absolutely agree with you,
yes,
sir.
Yes, ma'am. So that's the bottom line.
I absolutely agree that it shouldn't have happened to you.
Right.
He was trying to make sure that his tenant was safe because you have had no prior problems with this man.
Never. And Zachary
Just a second. You've had no prior problems with this man.
Never.
But he was concerned for the following reason. He was concerned because you were bringing a woman up to Bob's apartment, a woman who he had seen, and I absolutely believe him when he says that she was urinating in the hallway.
Oh,
Absolutely believe it. Okay? Because quite frankly, sir, I think that you may tell me that you were not intoxicated that evening, but I think that you and Bob had done a little drinking, if that's all you were doing. If that's all you were doing. So that you weren't in complete control of what was going on. Now, he may not have acted 100% appropriately. You understand that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
But he says that you hit him first.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Well, he says that you hit him first, but then again, he was pinning you against a wall, a partition.
A partition wall.
A partition. So he put his hands on you, and I don't think he had any right to do that. I don't think he had any right to put his hands on you because what he came in and saw was two guys who were semi-inebriated, and according to him, with a naked woman in the apartment. Something that I would not necessarily encourage, but which is not a crime.
That's not true.
Listen, Mr. Castleberry, this whole scenario that evening doesn't sound totally kosher to me. You know what that means? Totally right.
Go ahead.
Because I don't know what you're bringing some lady that you just met off the street, whether it's at 10 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning, up to this man's house for. You don't know anything about her. You know? You're pretty well sauced. He's pretty well sauced. Everybody's sauced. And you bring a stranger up to the house that can clean him out and go into the bedroom where his 92-year-old mother is sleeping and slit her throat.
No.
You know, I mean, all that is possible. This is somebody that you didn't know.
May I actually say something,
Yeah,
Your Honor?
sure.
Thank you very much. Actually, Your Honor, none of this, Zach have known me since 1985. I've never been in jail, never been in no trouble, or nothing of that matter, period. And he know that, hey, there was no reason for him to be alarmed by him seeing me go in there into Bob's.
With the lady who had just urinated on the stairwell.
That's not true.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke. Yes, ma'am.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The reason I put my hands on him because he put his hands on me first, shoving me out the apartment.
You had no business being in the apartment after you saw that he was in the apartment still breathing.
Okay.
Except that this woman, but the woman, according to you, was outside, right? At the time when this took place, the woman was outside the apartment, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I mean, I understand your concern, Mr. Thomas.
And there was an arrest there at the same time.
A what?
The police did arrest the woman.
For what?
For being intoxicated, wouldn't shut up, and wouldn't listen to reason. The police handcuffed her and took her to jail.
Interesting. They took her away in handcuffs?
He's lying.
No, no, no. No, no, he's not.
All right. Okay.
No, he's not.
All right.
He's not lying. Mr. Castleberry, you
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
use better judgment, sir, if you have better judgment, because if this man gives you access to his apartment, you have to exercise better judgment about who you permit into the apartment. Now, you're suing him for $4,000, Mr. Thomas. No way. No way. And I do believe that you did, in fact, hit him before he hit you. I also believe, however, that Mr. Thomas, sir, overreacted in the situation by not leaving the apartment once you saw that he was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you're both a little bit wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, it says here that you had a little bit of a knot on your head, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's what it says.
That's what it says. So I have some other questions for you. Are you employed, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Who do you work for?
I'm a government painter.
A what?
A government painter.
So you work full-time for the government or part-time?
Full-time.
Did you miss any work?
Just
Over here, sir.
Just the days that I had to go, and I consulted an attorney, and I also went to the doctor.
It's not what I'm asking you, sir. After this incident,
Yes,
not the
I
days
did.
you took off to go to see a lawyer, or not the days that you took off after you consulted with the lawyer to go to a doctor. Because that's about what happened, right? First you went to see a lawyer, and then the lawyer sent you to a doctor, correct?
That is correct.
See how smart I am? See, if you're really hurt, you go to the doctor before you go to the lawyer. That's what happens when you're really hurt.
Okay.
When you're not really hurt, first you go to the lawyer, and then the lawyer sends you to a doctor.
May I say something, please?
Sounds right to me, Judith.
So, Mr. Castleberry, I am awarding you damages, sir, in the amount of $1. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge,
Versus Robinson, step forward, please.
45-year-old Joe Kravich claims former tenant, 31-year-old Nico Robinson, skipped out on rent. Nico says she was a victim of sexual harassment.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 399 on the calendar in the matter of Kravich versus Robinson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
You were her landlord.
Yes.
Claims she left the apartment not only a mess, which caused you to spend a lot of money to fix it up and clean it up, but that she also left owing you rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Robinson, you have an interesting counterclaim. First, you want $5,000 because you say he sexually harassed you, which I assume you're going to tell me about.
I sure will.
And then you tell me that you don't owe him anything because your rent was paid directly by the government to him. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How did you find the apartment in his house?
There was a sign, a for rent sign in front of the house.
And it was a private house?
It was a private house.
And who did you live there with?
I lived there with me and my 2 sons.
Now, you say that this was a Section 8 house, which means that the municipality where you live was paying the rent. How was that arrangement made with him?
I had Section 8, a Section 8 certificate, and Section 8 pays a portion of my rent.
A portion of your rent?
A portion of my rent.
Go ahead.
They send a check to Mr. Kravitz every month, and then I am to pay the rest. I have a contract here that states that I was to pay $32 and that they would pay the balance of my rent.
They were going to pay the balance, and your responsibility was only $32?
Exactly.
How much was the rental on this house, Mr. Kravitz?
$1,100.
Okay, and how large a house is this?
It's 2-bedroom, 1 bath, approximately 1,250 square feet.
And had you applied to be a landlord that had Section 8 coverage? Do you have to do that?
No, ma'am.
Well, then what did you have to do with Section 8?
She approached me, and here's the list that she signed to pay $1,100 for the rent. And then the reason she went to Section 8 is because apparently she wanted to save a certain amount of money and not to show, but the arrangement was that I will receive $1,100 total.
So when she came to rent your house, did she tell you at that time that she was going to apply for Section 8 housing?
No, only about a week and a half later, which after I checked the credit and everything else, and I told her I cannot because she didn't have a good credit, then she told me that I will have guarantee from a certain amount of money from the government to pay the portion of the rent, which the other section will be paid by the boyfriend that lived with her. So therefore, he will cover the rest of the $1,100.
So there was a boyfriend that lived with her for a while?
Yes.
Did the boyfriend move in with her?
Every time I used to come there, he was there.
Mm-hmm. You forgot about the boyfriend, Miss Robinson.
No, I didn't. Actually...
Well, you said yourself and 2 sons. You didn't mention anything about a boyfriend.
Because there was no boyfriend. There was no boyfriend living with me in that house.
Was there somebody staying with you occasionally?
No, there was not. There was not.
Okay. Let me see the lease, please.
I'm sorry. This is a credit application.
Did you sign this lease?
I don't remember that lease. I did sign the lease with the contract with Section 8 and the Housing Authority.
All right, well, it may not prove to be terribly important if you agree, madam, that you agreed initially to pay him $1,100 a month rent.
Okay. Can I explain?
Did you agree to pay him $1,100 a month rent?
That was the rent that he asked. He asked for $1,100. Okay, what we agreed on was that Section 8 would come and inspect the house, and they would tell us what the market value is. I have a lease between him, myself, and Section 8, and it clearly states.
Let me see that. Let me see. Did you sign this 4-page document, sir?
Yes, sir.
You know what it says?
Yes.
What does it say? It says that she'll give you the difference of $32.
Yes, and I refused to rent it to her at this term, and she agreed. The boyfriend that lived with her will pay me. She will pay her, and she will pay me the difference, which was $300 different. I couldn't afford to rent the house this amount of money because my payment on the house is $1,200 a month, and I got the rent before at $1,100, and she knew it very well.
All right, now, Miss Robinson, I'm going to tell you right now that what this gentleman says has a ring of truth to it, and I'm going to tell you why. Because he owns a piece of property. He can set the value on his piece of property. He was renting the apartment, the house, for $1,100 a month. If you couldn't afford the house at $1,100 a month, if you didn't want to pay $1,100 a month, you leave. He was under no obligation to rent this place to you under whatever prevailing rate the government chose to give him.
Then he should not have signed the lease, and he should not have agreed to accept $842 for the apartment.
And you shouldn't have signed the lease agreeing to pay him $1,100.
That was an additional, that was a proposal that he had made. And I said, if Section 8 will go for that and allow that, then that's fine.
I don't believe that you said that to him. No way, because that doesn't have the ring of truth to it. That doesn't have a ring of truth to it. You said, I'll sign this, but if Section 8 only says they're going to give you $300 a month, then that's what I'm going to pay you, $300 a month.
Right, which I would not have moved in. Had he not agreed to it, I would not have moved in.
Oh, Ms. Robinson.
I would not have moved in.
Baloney. Baloney. You signed the lease, and then you went to Section 8 and said, come out and look at the house. And then they came out and looked at the house, and they said, this is what we think that the house is worth. Right? That's how it happened.
He signed
No,
that.
just a second.
Okay.
That's what happened. That's the
understand.
scenario. And you're already in there with your kids when Section 8 came out. I know how these things work. They work
That's
like
right.
mud going upstream. So you're already in there. They came out, and you said to him, if I can have the house because I like it,
Yeah, I
I'll
did
pay you
like
the
it.
difference.
Okay.
That's what you said to him. I know that. You know that. So do me a favor. Don't stand there and tell me no, because that's what happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Joe had a girlfriend, a very young blonde girlfriend that he'd bring over. He asked me to sleep with him and his girlfriend on 2 occasions.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Kravich is suing Nico Robinson for rent. Nico is countersuing Joe for sexual harassment.
So you left and you had, according to you, she was a delinquent in this additional money, and you were very forgiving of that for a long period of time. Why?
She had enough problems. She had to give back the car. She didn't have work. So I let her pay slowly and a section of it, which it started in August, and all the time she caught up. Even though she'd been late, she caught up with the payments until August. In August, started delinquent, and she didn't pay for a long time, and I've got the list exactly what she didn't pay, which she acknowledged that she owed me this amount of money. In February 10th, I wrote her a letter, 3 days to create or pay.
Let me see the amount that she owes you in the letter. You acknowledge receiving this letter, Ms. Robinson?
Yes, I do.
And then she wanted me to tell her exactly what is the damages after she left me the house in this condition, which I'm, if I may, after about a month going back and forth, yeah.
Your Honor, I can explain the condition of the house. Joe had rented the house out before my actual contract in my new house was to start. Joe shows up one day, knocks at my door, and says, Nico, I need you to move out right away because I have someone that's going to move in, and I'm going to lose my new tenant if you don't move out. And I said, Joe, I can't move out until the new house is ready, and Section 8 has drawn up the contracts for me to move. Joe says, Nico, if you don't move out, again, I'm going to lose this tenant. So Jeffrey was present that day that he showed up at my house and says, okay, I'll go get a truck and we'll
Had
move.
you already received this 3-day notice to quit?
I received that notice months prior to me moving out.
Okay, and you didn't?
I received the notice.
Yes.
And I talked to Joe, and I also called the housing authority.
Yes.
And I told them, listen, I need your help at this point. They said if Joe's having a problem, he needs to contact the housing authority. He wanted nothing to do with the housing authority.
Neither did you, because you called according to your answer. You called the housing authority and said that you didn't like the conditions of the house. So they said to you, according to your papers, well, let us come out and take a look at the place. And you decided against that. You said at that point I was just fed up, so I decided to move.
Well, I had the toilet backing up constantly.
What I'm telling you is the housing authority said, we're prepared to come out and look at the complaints that you have with regard to the property.
But I did want to move.
And you told them to forget it because you were moving anyway. That's what you wrote in your answer.
Okay.
You know, I've been around this block for a while. Now look, you left this place a disaster. And there is no excuse for that. There's no excuse for this.
There is an excuse for that, Your Honor.
Just a second.
I have to finish because
I'm listening to your excuse for
Joe
this.
wanted, we moved out so quickly. We moved out that day. I didn't pack anything. When you move, you plan something. You plan to move, you get organized, you pack your things. You don't have 6 or 7 people just grabbing everything and throwing it into a truck, and that's what took place. We got a truck.
What day of the month did you move out?
You know what? I don't know the date.
What day of the month did she move out?
May 5th.
May 5th.
Who are you?
The tenant, the new tenant.
You're the new tenant.
I cleaned up the place.
Hey!
Sorry.
May 5th is not when you move out. You move out on the 1st of the month. That was the plan, to move out on the 1st of the month.
But I couldn't move the first
That's your, listen, he's not related to you. He rented the apartment to somebody else to move in on the 1st of May. And you haven't done anything. He's rented the house. You know he's rented the house. Now it's May 5th, and he says, nah, sorry, you really have to move. You said, well, like it was unexpected. It wasn't unexpected. Miss Robinson.
I was planning on being in the new house on the 15th of the month.
You were planning. He wasn't planning. This is not your father. This is not your brother. Right? This was your landlord, who you were already shorting $2,000 in rent.
That's not true.
Yeah, it's true. Come on, it's true. This is not nice. This is not nice.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So after he put this hit on you, a month after your lease, you stayed there 2 more years.
I had no choice. I can't just move.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Kravich says Nico Robinson skipped out on rent. Nico says Joe sexually harassed her.
Miss Robinson, are you sure you want to tell me about the rest of your countersuit for $5,000 for
Absolutely.
sexual harassment?
Absolutely.
Are you positive?
I'm absolutely positively
Fine.
sure. I'd like
Tell
to
me
you.
about it.
When I first showed up at the house, I showed up with Mamie, my witness. When I walked in, Joe says, you can have the house. And I'm like, wow, that easy? I can have the house? He says, oh yeah, you can have the house. There was no credit check. I never gave him a security deposit. I asked him what was the security deposit. Oh, don't worry about it. You don't have to pay a security deposit. Joe had a girlfriend, a very young blonde girlfriend that he'd bring over. He asked me to sleep with him and his girlfriend on 2 occasions.
Just a second, when was this?
This was maybe a month into me moving there.
So a month after you moved in?
A month after I moved in.
And I assume you said no.
Of course I said no.
Give me next.
Next?
Next, come on.
It was constant. His hitting on me, his sexual harassment.
No,
his
sexual harassment is a conclusion, madam.
Okay, sure. Then that would be the conclusion of his actions.
That would be the conclusion. So after he put this hit on you, a month after your lease, you stayed there 2 more years.
I had no choice. I can't just move.
Listen.
I was a full-time student at that time with Section 8. I don't have the money just to go move.
Just like you moved into his house, you call the housing authority and you say, listen, it's not that easy. Miss Robinson, I'm going to tell you something about allegations of sexual harassment. I take them very seriously. I think that anybody who is harassed in a workplace, who is harassed in a place of residence, whether it's a man or a woman, and legitimately making somebody else's life miserable because of their gender.
And he did.
That's serious. Your story is full of baloney. Because you didn't file a suit 2.5 years ago. You didn't file a suit last year. You didn't file a suit this year. You waited until he sued you for the money that you owe him. And then, unfortunately, women say, I was sexually harassed. Oh, sure.
Okay.
Oh, sure you did.
That's not the case.
Well, because if you were so offended and started to think, as soon as you met this man, you just told me, as soon as you met this man, he came on to you.
Sure did.
That would have been before you got in touch with Section 8, before you signed the lease, before you did anything else. Then what you do is, you turn around, you say, thank you very much, and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
You didn't do that, so evidently you found his comments to you not so terrible, not so harassing. They only became harassing, madam, when you owed him money. And Listen to me, sir. You made certain mistakes. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did it cost you to clean up these premises, this mess?
Cost me $2,123.54.
Let me see.
Plus $805 that I have to give Wendy as a free rent. And if I may say, Your Honor, Wendy met Nico in March, the beginning of March, and they made arrangement for Nico to move,
Can I just tell my own? Thank you. Several things I want to say. I don't want to take up your time. First of all, upon the first moment of coming into this situation, when I talked to Renate, I saw the house in the recycler. Renate said, we just put it in. The recycler had just come out. It was in March. I went there. I had called Nico on the phone. She sounded like she'd been crying, but she said I could come over. I went over there. Upon the first minute of walking in the house, she went on and on to me about how wonderful Joe was as a landlord, and you must take the house. It's such a spiritual place. It'll be perfect for you, because I guess I'd mentioned I was an artist or whatever, and Joe is the best landlord. He'll take care of anything that you need. Oh, you must take this place. I made arrangements 3 times with the gas company, the DWP, and my mover friends, and had to cancel. Upon the 4th time I called, that's when actually everything stayed. I had to call and cancel, because she kept giving different dates. And, you know, she knew prior to May 5th that she had to be out, because we'd already made 3 dates.
When was the first date that you made?
I think the first was the 15th of April. Okay. And then we went to the first of the months, and it just...
Yeah, April 15th.
April 15th was the first...
So this didn't come as a surprise to you that she was moving in? So you should have had your stuff all boxed up and ready to go?
Right.
So that you didn't leave it like this pig pen?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Kravich, listen to me very carefully, sir. She owes you $1,960. I believe that she owes you that. If she had moved in like a normal tenant, she would have taken a month's security from her, which is $1,100, because that's what your lease was, right?
Right.
That would mean that she would have owed you $3,060.
Right.
I know that you're suing for more, but if she was just somebody who took off and you would have had her security deposit plus the money that she owes you for rent. So I'm giving you a judgment for $3,060. And I am dismissing, madam, your counterclaim as pure, unadulterated hogwash. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
Step forward, please.
66-year-old Don Landolfi claims his landlord, Rod McMillan, and apartment manager Greta Barden refused to refund his rent and assaulted him.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Judge, case number 421 on the calendar in the matter of Landolfi versus McMillan Barden. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Landolfi, I've been in this business for a very long time, and I've read a lot of complaints. I read your complaint. I read your revised complaint. I still, for the life of me, don't understand what you're suing for, except that I do understand that for a short time, you entered into a lease agreement with the defendants.
Correct.
And that was because you were going to have some medical treatment.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, excuse me.
Where do you live normally?
I was living in Vallejo at the time and attending the Martinez Outpatient Veterans Clinic, and because of the problem couldn't be resolved by their doctors, they suggested a specialist, not a veterans doctor, in Palm Springs, an internist. So I came down to see him.
And you needed a place to stay for a couple of
Correct.
months. You found an apartment in their facility, in their
First
complex.
30 days I stayed in a motel. It was too expensive. Then I found the Brentwood.
Now tell me about your lawsuit. Tell me why you think that they owe you $4,700 or $4,800.
First of all, the verbal agreement, of which I have a receipt for, so it's also in writing, was $600 a month from September 7th to October 7th to November 7th, 60 days. And I have a receipt dated that day, and I'll show you. I have a whole file of exhibits for you, Your Honor, if you wish to see them. Let me look at mine, though, so I can give you your copies right now if you wish to look at them.
You rented an apartment, according to you, for $600 a month from September 7th until October 7th.
Well,
Stop, don't rustle papers.
Excuse me.
Don't rustle papers.
November 7th, Your Honor.
Well, you left before October, correct?
I left on the 29th of September to go to Vallejo, flew back to pick up my car, my clothes, and to make my final visit to Martinez Hospital.
How long did you live in their apartment?
From September 7th through the 29th.
Of September?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much rent did you pay altogether?
$1,200.
You paid $1,200.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get any back?
I got $400 back.
When did you get the $400 back?
I told her in writing on September 27th, here is the balance of $500, which brings the apartment rental to November 7th, and they only take cash, no checks, no credit cards. And I put 3 items. Please ask the maid to clean up. She hasn't cleaned anything.
Did I ask you a question? I said, when did you get the $400 back?
I got the $400 back after that note, and I got the $400 back on 9/29.
So, you asked for a refund, and you got a partial refund.
Correct.
So you asked for how much, sir?
The rent from September 7th to October 7th is $600. They gave me $400 back. They still owed me $200 for the month of October. I paid October all in advance. I paid $700 for the month of October, Your Honor, and I have documentation to prove that.
Please. You said you paid him $1,200 altogether. You got $400 back, which means from your hand to their hand ultimately was $800. Correct?
Correct.
All right. And you lived there for a month, and you said your rental
I
agreement...
lived there, no, Your Honor, I did not live there for a month. I lived there from September 7th to September 29th when I went home to go to the hospital and get the rest of my clothes.
Okay. I am assuming, sir, that for the purposes of argument, that's the month of September. So that's $600.
For 3 weeks.
Okay. Which means $200 owing. So you want to tell me why they owe you $5,000?
Okay. They still owed me $100 from my $700 October payment. They owe me $145.53 because when I came back from the emergency treatment at the hospital, on October 2nd, I walk into my apartment and there's a gray-haired gentleman with a Pennsylvania license plate on a new Cadillac sitting on my sofa, and both of us say simultaneously, "Who are you?" I said, "This is my apartment. I just rented this apartment." I said, "You can't. I have a lease till October 7th. It's now the 2nd. So I go see Miss Barden. She said, "Well, you left." I said, "I didn't leave. Where's my clothes? Where's everything?" "What clothes?" Wait a minute. I flew back to Vallejo to pick up my car and go to the hospital. I didn't carry it. I had 3 left shoes in me because I still can't. I haven't worn shoes on my right foot in six months now, 6.5 months. Where's my jacket? Where's my slacks? Where's my 3 pair of left shoes, my underwear, bathing suit, etc., etc.? Nothing was there. I said, "Where's the rest of my money?" She said, "Well, you didn't give me the key back." I said, "I forgot the key. They were on top of the TV. And you stole a telephone." I said, "What are you talking about? You're not getting your money." So I claim 7 days rent at $20.79 a day comes to $145.53. The total now, with the 100 she still didn't give me, was $245.53. Using her exhibit, and I think Your Honor should look at this. It's her handwriting.
Just would you get to the thousands? So far I'm hearing hundreds, sir.
Okay.
Get to the thousands.
You have to forgive me, Your Honor. I got a touch of the flu. My brain is not as fast as it normally is. This lady claimed she was a nurse. The stress, harassment, this stuff, that stuff that she put me through continually came to my house after I filed the first small claims case, which I filed on November 18th, and she never accepted it. But she came speeding into my driveway with a car, nearly knocked the mobile home down that I was now renting, came at me, threw a punch. I'm proud to be a Marine lieutenant. I ducked, it hit my shoulder. She sped away at 30 miles an hour, and it's a 10-mile-an-hour park because a lot of seniors there walk around with walkers. So I call the police to file assault charges. I work with the DARE program with the police department, so I know all the cops. I tell them what's going on. They come back and they say, "Don, she says you're throwing eggs and confetti and stuff all over her car." I said, "Don't be silly. Here's the small claims case. I just filed it 3-4 days ago. Stay away from her. She's crazy. If you want, get a restraining order." I said, "Forget it, Pete. I'll tell her to stay away from me." He said, "We already told her don't cross the street." And that was the assault aspect. So I'm now charging $3,845, punitive due to the dire medical condition I was in, and she knew it because she saw me every day sitting at the pool, my feet raised, because the doctor said you got to get the blood going the other way. And she's a nurse, et cetera, which I'd love to know.
I didn't understand the complaint when you wrote it, and I still don't understand it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I told him, you are the best from Budapest. He says, what? He probably believed I say you're the best.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 66-year-old Don Landolfi claims he has a refund coming from landlord Rod McMillan, and he was assaulted by apartment manager Greta Barden.
What I don't understand is, you were in the apartment for, assuming for the purposes of argument, for the month of September,
3
at a
weeks,
rent,
Your Honor.
according to you, of $600 a month. You understood that you were not getting prorated rent for the 7 days. You were paying $600 for the month of September. You paid, according to you, $1,200, which would have brought you up from September, when you moved in, until November 1st.
7th.
Or November 7th. But something happened. I'll let them have their chance to explain to me what their version of the events was. Something happened, and when you came back from your trip, you found somebody else in the apartment. You had already, prior to that time, sir, asked for your money back, and you were already given $400 back before you took this plane ride home. Is that right?
Semi-right.
No, I'm always right. Before you took the plane ride home, they gave you back $400. That's what you just told me. Now, what did they give you the $400 back for?
Because I had paid the whole month of October 7th to November 7th in advance. $700 I had paid.
So, why did you ask them back for the rent?
Because they wouldn't fix the electric plug, the TV didn't work. It said, I told her I would get out on October 7th, 1 month rental, yet I paid you for 2 months. So I wanted my $700
okay,
back.
now I see. So, you left on September 29th, and you had already received back the $400.
For October.
For October, with the understanding that you were going to vacate the apartment by October 7th.
Correct.
Oh, now it's coming clear. I knew eventually we'd get to it. So when you came back on October 2nd, really just for the purposes of picking up your clothes or your things.
And living there for 5 more days.
And living there for 5 more days, you found somebody in there.
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when you left to go home on the 29th of September, who did you speak to and tell that you were going to be back on the 2nd of October?
The manager of the complex, Greta Barden.
Okay, Ms. Barden, you are the manager of this complex.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm getting to you. Did he tell you that he was coming back when he left on September 29th?
He told me he was leaving, and that was it. That he was tired with the place. He demanded the money. I told him I will keep, because since he did not paint, then he had to pay for the electric bill, which was $106 plus. And then I told him I will return the other $100 when he returned the apartment key. I saw him moved out and he did not give me the key. But then when I went to look, and it seemed like he was gone, I found this in the door that it said, my place until October 10th, stay out note. Then I called the police. I asked Mr. Robert Hernandez from the SWAT team in Palm Springs came over. I said, sir, this gentleman has moved out and left this note there. What do I do? So he knocked, and there was no response. Then I opened with the master key. He told me to stay out, not to walk in. He walked into the place, calling his name several times, loud, all around the place.
All right.
He came out and he told me I could go in then.
Okay. He was paid through October 7th.
Right.
And you moved somebody in there on October 1st.
I believe so.
Okay. So you owe him for a week.
Right. Excuse me, but the police told me since the place was vacant, because he checked with me the closet and everywhere, since the place was vacant, that apparently his clothes were warm.
I don't care what the police told you. You know, if they wanted to be lawyers, they would have gone to law school instead of police school. What I'm telling you is you owe him a week.
Right.
Because you charged the other man for a whole month.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
$1,000 a month.
So you owe him for a week.
Yes.
Clarification, note here, signed by him, says, I'm leaving 7 days early, therefore my attorney as you, etc.
Let me see.
And our problem, he wanted to be reduced.
All right, just a second. Let me see this.
Well, here's our answer to that. This is the answer.
Exhibit 12, Your Honor. My exhibit.
Mr. Linforti, he said, I am leaving 7 days early. Therefore, per my attorney, as you caused this situation, you owe me the $100 plus 7 days at $20.59, or $145.53. Total $245.33. Okay? Now, so
excuse me, there's one more sentence there, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Due to my medical condition, no stress aggravation is due to me. At noon today, please, they never gave me the money. That makes October 7th the official departure date for me. They never gave me the money.
Whatever. They can't keep
What do you
this
mean,
money
whatever?
anyway.
I paid for the month of September,
Just a
Your
minute.
Honor.
You can't rent a place twice.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you.
They owe you $245.33.
Excuse me, Your Honor,
Ma'am.
53 cents.
Excuse
If
me?
you say 33 cents,
I say 53, 145.53. Oh, okay, excuse me.
Your Honor?
Yeah, excuse me. Say I'm wrong.
I am 100% wrong.
Good.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I says, when are you going to stop this? So stupid guy, and he came at me with this part of his arm. He pushed me in this part, and I went backwards.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Don Landolfi says his former landlord, Rod McMillan, and apartment manager, Greta Barton, owe him a refund on his place.
Listen to me. That's what you owe him. You can't rent a place twice. That's unfair. Now, let's get to this assault nonsense.
Let's get to my clothes first. That's $700 worth of clothes, Your Honor.
Just a minute. Was there anything in the apartment?
No, ma'am. The police is a witness. He walked in there first, and I walked the second time with him.
I'd like to see the
There was
police
nothing,
report.
and it was the telephone gone, and it was a coffee maker gone, were all the lights on, the air conditioner full blast. There were the two TV sets on, and
so all the electrical equipment was on?
Was on, plus he took everything from the apartment, plus the telephone.
Let's get to the assault, please. Did you go to his house after you were served with a small claims summons?
I did not. I was not served ever with any small claims court, Your Honor.
But did you go to his house?
He kept putting eggs and vanilla ice cream and soap in my windshield. I called the police.
Just a minute. Did you see him do that?
I did not see him. I slept in my car several times trying to catch him. For some reason, he was not there the days. One time when I came and I found the egg in my car, since he was living across the street, I saw him drive away after he saw me get to my car.
So you thought it was him?
I believe it was him. There was no other reason for anyone else to be.
Okay.
Then,
so you thought it was him?
Yes.
So then what did you do?
Then since I had the egg, and I was sick and tired of 6, 7 times doing this, and the police, all they did was a frequent patrol. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll stop it because I was ignoring it. So I thought I'll go over, and I knocked at his window in his trailer park. I knew it was his car because it says Marine. So he came out, and I said, when are you going to stop this? So stupid guy, I said, I'm sick and tired. So he said, get out of here, get out of here. I'm going to sue you. And he came at me. How could I attack him when he's older than me and everything? And a Marine, I wasn't going to about. I was too scared of his size and his mental condition. So with this part of his arm, he pushed me in this part, and I went backwards until I was able to turn around and hold myself against the trailer, or I would have fallen to the ground. I made a big deal out of it because I was scared. So I wanted the neighbors to be aware that my presence, so he would not do anything drastic to me. He kept screaming at me. He said he was going to sue me and everything. So I went in my car. I drove to the manager of the place. I showed him my car, and I explained to him that this was done by Mr. Landolfi, and ever was done by anybody in the parking place to please come and look for me, because I was a witness to what harassment he's been giving, sexual harassment and all kind of harassment. And I wanted them to be a witness. Oh, I would be happy to help him. So I went back to my apartment, and I called the police. They came, they talked to me. Then he went over to him and told him to stay out of my place, not to even call me, because he was calling me several times. He was coming over my place, knocking at the door, demanding the money. I was one time at the lounge, and he came over me. I was not aware he walked into the place, and he called me a bitch and insulted me, and he walked away because I told him there was no money coming to him. I had to call the locksmith. I had to...
Okay. Okay. Does he still... What?
There is a locked gate to that property. You can't get in unless you have a key to the lock. So
It was
everything she
unlocked
told
during
you...
the day.
May I finish, please? I can't use the word perjury. That's your decision. This lady is lying to Your Honor.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I find, after hearing this case, you own the property, sir?
I'm the president of the association.
And you're the manager?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lie also. She's not the manager anymore.
I'm a temporary manager.
She was manager at that time.
Are you feeling better, sir?
A little bit. Thank you, Your
Good.
Honor.
I'm going to help you feel a little bit better, Mr. Landorfi. But not a lot better, sir. Not $5,000 better. They owe you $245.33, period. And I suggest that if you still live next door to each other or across the way, you stay as far away from each other as is possible. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the...
Step forward, please.
29-year-old student Wendy Hickman wants her ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old Mark Fraley, to pay her for using her credit cards to repair his Porsche and paying other bills while they were together.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 418 on the calendar in the matter of Hickman versus Fraley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You were together for 4.5 years. You let him use your credit cards. You split up. You don't pay.
Correct.
What'd you give him your credit cards for?
Well, we dated for almost a little over 4.5 years, and he did not have a credit card. So on occasions when he needed to use a credit card...
Why didn't you have a credit card?
I didn't want a credit card. I didn't need one.
You had hers.
Didn't have hers. She had hers.
Did you use hers?
I didn't use hers without her being there. She was
I
there.
didn't mean that you used it without her knowledge and permission. Did you use her credit card?
We used her credit cards.
Did you ever use her credit card for things that was strictly for you?
Yes.
Like what?
Well, some car repairs.
Okay, and that was for your car?
Right.
So you did need a credit card for your car repairs?
Well, at the situation, I didn't really need a credit card. I could have paid for it myself cash, but it was offered the use of the credit card to pay for my car repairs.
So, chivalry being dead, you accepted?
Well, that's a different type of... I wouldn't say that. I'd say that the money was supposed to be used towards a vacation that I was going to be going on with the plaintiff.
How much did you charge on her credit card for your car repair?
About $850.
Did you pay
that
for
would
it?
be actually incorrect.
Okay. How much did he pay?
How much did he pay?
For the car repairs.
How
much did he charge on your credit card for the car repairs?
For the car repairs, about $1,400.
And how much of that did you pay?
I'd say I paid probably all of it.
Show me.
I can't show you. I can show you what I did pay, though. I can show you what I've paid over the years. Basically, the plaintiff had my checkbook. She wrote checks for me. She just said, okay, well, this is what we're paying, this is what I'm paying, and I just continued to pay.
Let me just see, sir, your checks for June.
There you go.
Okay. June.
And this is a statement. I paid $908. Your Honor, basically through our relationship, I paid for everything.
What are you showing me here?
Those are copies. I couldn't get canceled checks in time. The bank sent me the wrong statements. So I'm showing you a bank statement, and as well as a copy of my check ledger, which shows that I paid $908.
I'm not interested in your check ledger, sir. Okay. Now, What about Visa? Let me see the charges on Visa for his car.
They're right here. And I have payments. I mean, he was accredited, this is from October of 95 until July of 96. And there's, in the red, those are his payments. So I gave him full credit for everything that he did or paid. I just want what he owes me plus the interest. It's accrued since. I agree that it's pretty lame that he charges
Pretty
on the
lame.
credit card.
Very lame. Very lame. And
It wasn't a
nobody's
matter of me charging on her card. It's like, I want this, I'm charging on the credit card, and you're paying for it.
Okay. You owe her some money for the car repairs, sir.
But these other charges, I mean, are his that he made.
Your Honor, did she...
I would not have said that, yes, go ahead and use my credit
Your
card
Honor,
and I'll pay for this.
On the American Express bill that she breaks down for June, does she break down what would be my charges and her charges?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why wouldn't she want to do that throughout our relationship on the American Express bill that I paid?
Why?
We always do.
Just a second. Why?
Yeah.
She did.
No.
But maybe she did it in this month because, you know, you don't break up overnight, sir. Things start going bad in the months before that.
A couple years before that.
Right? Well, then you stayed in the relationship longer than you should have. So. You know, people have to be smart, both men and women. You don't commingle these assets and expect somebody else, courts, to waste their time going through a 5-year relationship, separating who bought Kleenex and who bought toilet paper and whether it was his toilet paper or your Kleenex. That's just not going to happen, madam. You look like an intelligent young woman. You don't let somebody else use your credit card. You
I
know,
took his word. I thought
dating
he'd pay.
for 4.5 years isn't being married.
I realize that.
Why after 4.5 years weren't you married? Huh?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, Mr. Fraley.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. You broke up in June.
In July.
In July of 1996, correct?
Yes.
What I would like you to do is, assuming that this was valid evidence, which it is not, but assuming it was, I just want you to take out the sheet of payments that you made on the Visa and MasterCard on or after July of 1996.
None.
All right. So that what you're expecting me to believe, sir,
Said everything was paid prior.
is that you were all up to date on the Visa and all up to date on the MasterCard. If that's what you want me to believe.
That's what I want you to believe.
No way. No way.
Your Honor, breakups are never good. I mean, throughout a 4-year relationship, I paid for, and I think the plaintiff will agree that I basically financially took care of her when we went out.
I would disagree.
Well, she can disagree if she'd like, but since I was making more money than her, I took more of the financial burden, and that was understood.
Except, sir, that when you broke up, there was an $8,000 bill due on Visa.
Okay.
That was a debt. That was a debt that...
Wasn't my $8,000.
Well, but a good portion, at least a portion of it, sir, was yours. A portion of it here has your car repairs, which were extensive, and you were making minimum payments due on the account. So then you break up and you decide, well, I don't have to make minimum payments anymore on the account. I'm not going to make another payment on the account, which is exactly what you did, because there is nothing in your ledger to suggest that after you kissed each other goodbye, you made one additional payment, which is really sort of outrageous.
I never knew how much money I paid all along now.
Well, that's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do believe him when he says that he paid for certain things in cash. Otherwise, you would have been a jerk to stay with him since he was earning 4 times as much as you were, right?
Yes.
Good.
And later today,
You don't, sir, ask her boyfriend to step up to the mic so that you can do fisticuffs with him. It's like Dumb and Dumber.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Hickman wants her ex-boyfriend, Mark Fraley, to pay her back for the use of her credit while they were together.
She's suing you for half of this $8,000, and I don't even know if half of it is yours. But I certainly think that your car repairs are yours. There are a lot of other charges here that are substantial, big ones. You know, did you go to Houma Lodge and Houma, California together?
Yeah, we did.
You went together and you charged that on the credit card, $232, right?
She charged it. I paid it.
You paid...
Okay, she would charge something, I'd bring cash, and I'd pay cash.
Who would you pay cash to?
I'd pay cash for everything else. It wasn't a matter of, okay, let's throw everything on the credit card. I wasn't walking around penniless.
Oh, just a second. I understand. You went to this lodge, and how long were you at the lodge?
Two nights.
Yeah, 2 nights.
2 nights. But truth is, I see what you mean. The lodge is paid for on here, but you also had to eat. You
tip people. I assume you didn't go skiing or
I
whatever
have my
you're
own
doing.
money. It's not like I went penniless.
No, but he was with you, so I assume he paid. Cash.
No, not necessarily.
You know something? Truth of the matter is, I don't necessarily believe you either. I think that you put some things on your credit card, some things that are clearly his bills. But according to this, you did go on vacation, certain things you put on the credit card. But if you look down the same dates, there are no dates there, like for restaurants going out to eat, so that he probably paid some of the meals in cash, and you put some of the stuff on your credit card. And whether that balanced itself out 50-50 is anybody's guess. You still had an $8,000 nut. Nobody is going to figure this out. Certainly, I am not going to award you $4,000, because I do believe him when he says that he paid for certain things in cash. Otherwise, you would have been a jerk to stay with him, since he was earning 4 times as much as you were, right?
Yes.
Good. So I don't think you look like a jerk. So I'm awarding you $2,000. Consider yourself lucky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Unbelievable. So I was helping him out. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the credit to get a credit card, so I allowed him to use it.
I was making 4 times as much, so how come I didn't have the money?
I don't know. Good question. You just don't say on good faith that I'm going to pay you back, and you don't do it. That's just wrong.
Oh, but it's okay to take and take and take, and then that's all right.
You have a twisted view of our relationship.
And now the next case.
All parties on Welton versus Lunaria Restaurant. Step forward, please.
Harmonica virtuoso Danny Welton is suing restaurant owner Bernard Jacopi for not paying for his performance. Bernard claims the harmonica player's rude behavior caused customers to leave.
Mr. Welton,
Yes, ma'am.
you play the harmonica.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You do that for a living?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
According to your complaint, you had a contract with the defendant to play at his restaurant.
We had a verbal agreement because I...
Am I speaking? You had a contract with the defendant to play at his restaurant.
Yes, ma'am.
You played there.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't pay you.
That's right.
That's what this case is about.
That's right.
He's got a defense, and he says, you didn't play and you cost him money. So, your agreement was an oral one. How much were you supposed to be paid?
Initially, my band was supposed to get $350 for the band. I was supposed to get 85% of all covers. And also, I was supposed to be reimbursed for an ad I took out in the Hollywood Reporter. I got not, and also, something very important and very dear to me, he was supposed to feed my band, and he gave them nothing. Nothing.
No, that's not true. Even according to you, he gave him something. According to you, he gave him stale pizza.
Yeah, well, stale pizza. That was nothing.
They ate it.
They spit it, well, actually, they spit it out.
Mr. Welton, let me explain something to you, sir. We are not going to, in this proceeding, play with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
This was for a one-night performance?
A one-night engagement.
And how many shows were you supposed to do in that one night?
2.
And did you do the first one?
Yes, ma'am, and it was packed.
Packed. And then there was a problem, according to you, sir, with the second performance. So why don't you tell me about it?
There was a drunken lady in the audience who started to heckle me.
What did she say?
You know, I'll be honest with you, Judge. I do not recall exactly. If I were to say exactly, I would be wrong.
Okay, so you started shouting things.
That's right.
How long have you been a performer, sir?
All my life. Since
So
I'm 3 years old.
I assume you've had people do this sort of thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
And
what
I
did
know
you
how
do?
to handle them.
So what'd you do?
I start throwing lines back at her to keep her quiet, hoping that would squelch the problem. And her boyfriend got mad at me and threatened to charge the microphone. And I said, come on. You know, he was going to come up there. I was, you know, I wasn't going to back off. I've never taken a half a step backwards in my entire life.
So what happened?
Bernard closed the show at that point.
Bernard, you closed the show down when that's was happening.
We were forced to.
You closed down the show. Is that right? Very smart. Exactly the right thing to do. So what happened next?
Well, actually, there weren't that many people there because it's kind of an early type supper club. You get your big crowd the first show, and sometimes I noticed that there's never even a second show. The first 2 times I played there, there wasn't even a second show.
Oh, you played there before?
Twice before.
Did he pay you?
Yes, the first time everything went well. The second time, he broke his agreement with me. He did not pay me the cover charges.
But you went back for a third time.
Well, I gave him another chance. You know, I'm kind of a sucker that way.
A sucker who never backs down.
That's right. Kind of an all-day, not-back-down sucker.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Welton marched around the bar screaming profanity that he was not going on until he was introduced because he's a very big star and he doesn't do things this way.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Harmonica virtuoso Danny Welton is suing restaurant owner Bernard Jacopi for not paying for his performance.
You didn't pay him, correct?
Correct.
You didn't pay him anything.
Not even a biscuit.
No, he gave you stale pizza, Mr. Welton. Mr. Jacobi, tell me why you didn't pay him at all.
The agreement was for 3 shows, like every entertainer. He only did once. We had to reimburse the people that were there, and we had to turn away.
You mean reimburse the people for the second show?
For the second show.
For the cover charge?
That's correct. And we had to turn away all the people that are coming for the second and third show. We had to close the bar. We lost bar revenue, and we lost show revenue. In addition to that, his manager that's present had a tab for $80. Here it is, and he signed it saying he was going to pay it the following day, and never did come and pay it.
Well, that's not his problem. He is not his manager's keeper.
Well, he was representing Mr. Weldon. And in leaving the property, we have witness here. He assaulted our maitre d'. We have the copy of the security and the police report here. And it doesn't
Who's the maitre d'?
I am.
Step up, sir. What is your name?
Gerard Buck.
You have a complaint filed against this gentleman for assault?
I did file a complaint, yes.
How did he assault you?
On the way out, he elbowed me very hard and kicked me.
That is not true.
We called security, made a report, and then filed a complaint with the police. Made a report with the police department.
Were you escorting him off forcefully?
No, you can't go near him. I mean, he's out of control.
If I may, Your Honor?
You are the manager?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You drink a lot.
Pardon?
You drink a lot.
No, that wasn't just for me. That was for other people in the audience.
Well, but you were buying.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Why didn't you pay the bill?
Because he said he's not going to pay us. And I said, you can deduct it from what you owe us.
Oh, was that what you said?
That's exactly what I said to him.
Oh, so you told him to deduct
the $80 from the amount of money he
from
owed
the
us.
$300.
Well, there were 28, Your Honor, if I may explain.
Sure.
It's a small showroom with a large bar off to the right-hand side of the performers in a large restaurant that opens up during the performances.
Your Honor.
Just a second. What is your last name?
Edel, Your Honor. E-D-E-L-L.
Mr. Riedel, were you there when this incident occurred with this lady heckler?
Absolutely.
Well, didn't you tell Mr. Welton that he behaved totally inappropriately?
No, I don't believe he did behave
Sure he
inappropriately.
did.
This man threatened him bodily.
No, he didn't threaten him until he started.
Oh, no, Your Honor.
Mr. Riedel, just pay attention to me,
Surely.
sir. He's not a comedian.
Yes, I am.
He's a You are?
He's also a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
When you're performing, you're in somebody else's house. You, sir, are in his house.
Yes, ma'am.
He has invited guests into his house.
A couple of drunken ones.
That's possible. You weren't playing, sir, in a church. You were playing in a bar restaurant. And somebody was behaving badly.
Excuse me.
Don't say excuse me. I don't excuse you. Pay attention. You don't have to be a genius to figure this out. You just have to use a little common sense. If somebody is drunk in the audience, then what you do is you try not to have that escalate into a dangerous situation. Dangerous either for you, for the other patrons, for members of the band. And if a situation appears to be escalating, then you use good judgment, not that male macho testosterone that I've heard about so much lately. You walk off the stage and you approach the owner or the manager and you say, there's this lady out there heckling me. I just taken a quick break. See what you can do about this lady because I can't continue to perform. You don't, sir, ask her boyfriend to step up to the mic so that you can do fisticuffs with him.
No, he invited himself up to the mic.
And no, you said, come on up here.
Well,
you know, it's like Dumb and Dumber.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're supposed to be in charge.
So
You're supposed to
judge.
exercise good judgment. And good judgment is not closing down the show because you invite somebody to come up to the stage, somebody who is probably drunk because he's with a drunken lady, according to you.
well, he charged the stage, so I said, come on, you know.
You know, Mr. Welton, you keep changing your story. I want to tell you something. You told me your story. You said, I don't back away from anything. He says, I'm going to come up there, and you said, come on. Dum-dum. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू माई चैनल। आई होप कि आप सब ठीक होंगे, हैरियत से होंगे। और आज है 8 फरवरी और मैं जा रहा हूँ वोट देने के लिए। और अभी चेक करें सुबह का टाइम 8:13 और ये चेक करें सर्विस वगैरह चली गई है। और फ्रेंड्स फाइनली मैंने अपनी ज़िंदगी का फर्स्ट वोट कास्ट कर लिया है और अभी हम कैंप में बैठे हुए हैं और मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ। ये चेक करें, ये निशान वगैरह लग गए, फर्स्ट टाइम वोट डाला है। फ्रेंड्स अभी हम वोट वगैरह डाल चुके हैं और अभी इधर कैंप में बैठे हुए हैं और मेरे साथ ये रिजवान मौजूद है। आपने किसको वोट डाली है जी?
हमने टीएलपी को।
और ये इधर डॉक्टर साहब भी बैठे हुए हैं। डॉक्टर साहब आपने किसको वोट डाली है?
इमरान खान को डाली है
जी। ये इमरान खान के सपोर्टर हैं।
जी जी। अच्छा जी।
भैया आपने वोट किसको दिया है?
जनाब टीएलपी को।
आपने किसको दिया है?
पीटीआई इमरान खान।
ये देखें टीएलपी और पीटीआई वाले इकट्ठे बैठे हैं।
गाड़ी ने अंदर तीन
फिर गड्डी जी। तो फ्रेंड्स मैं भी आ चुका हूँ वापस घर, क्योंकि मेरी आज ड्यूटी थी वहाँ पे पोलिंग एजेंट की भी। तो फिर मैं कभी वहाँ पे होता था, कभी बार कैंप में। तो अभी मैं आया हूँ घर, अभी नमाज़ वगैरह पढ़ूँगा, फिर दोबारा जाएंगे उधर और फिर इंशाल्लाह भी रिज़ल्ट भी आने वाले हैं। चेक करेंगे कौन सी पार्टी यहाँ से जीती है और वो भी मैं आप लोगों को दिखाऊँगा।
चलो जी।
त्रिये पर चौथे पर सुबाई पर कमाल
चलो चलो।
और फ्रेंड्स फाइनली हम आ गए हैं वापस घर और रिज़ल्ट आ गया हुआ है। तो जो फर्स्ट पोजीशन पे आई है यहाँ से हमारी तरफ से वो आई है पीपल पार्टी और दूसरे नंबर पे थी पीटीआई, तीसरे नंबर टीएलपी एंड फोर्थ नंबर पे आई है मुस्लिम लीग नून। यहाँ पे मेन यही 4 पार्टी थी, इसके अलावा कोई और ज़्यादा खासी वोट वगैरह किसी की भी नहीं आई है। हम अभी अपनी वीडियो के इधर ही एंड करते हैं। आई होप कि आपको मेरी वीडियो पसंद आई होगी, तो अगर पसंद आए तो चैनल को जरूर लाइक करना, सब्सक्राइब करना। मिलते हैं किसी नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए हाफिज़।